Hello everyone, this is Jacob Nolan again, coming back from a nice little accident to talk about stress recycling and how it works with Flow Health System for lifestyle upgrades. Alright, we've already discussed the no judgment assessment, kind of where you are on a line between addiction, dis-ease, wellness, and performance. Alright, and so this is kind of where the stress recycling comes in at this point. We'll talk about the alchemy of stress, turning distress, which creates dis-ease, into eustress, E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, which is a healthy, beneficial, motivational form of stress that you can use to help push you to do better with whatever challenges you're facing in this life. All right, so that's kind of like the alchemy of stress. I know I call it stress recycling, but what we're trying to do is get into a state of wellness using that balance of stress. And then once we get there, we get up to performance. All right, so that's how the first assessment is done. And then we get into the program directive. So it's activation of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Then we have the use of the tools of diet, exercise, which we've already gone over in previous videos. Now we're here today to talk about the stress recycling arm or tool that we use to help people upgrade their life. All right, stress recycling. Why do I do this? All right, because I'm a health scientist, and having had gone through certain situations myself, I know that I had a life and a lifestyle that was below what made me happy, and I needed to upgrade my own life to where I was happy and enjoy and having fun with it. So I do this because I know that somebody will benefit from this information. All right, what I've done is just gone through the situation, bettered myself, grew from it, and I'm reverse engineering this information so that you can grow into the type of person that you need to grow to be happy and successful. This is why I do this. Also, it helps people heal, because they know that somebody else has been through certain types of situations that they might be familiar with, or they have experienced the pattern of certain situations and how they overcome that pattern. I'm interested, or was when I started this journey, of changing negative behavior patterns in my own life into positive ones. All right, and so I'm just giving you the keys and tools that I use to straighten my life out to become a successful, well-rounded person that I thought that I should be. All right. I know that sharing some of this information means that you can have somebody you can connect with to feel like you now see somebody who's gone through the situation and came out the other side with a better outcome. Because some of these things that I'm going to talk about are the toughest things you can go through in life. Stress alchemy was the thought of, well, what is stress and how does that affect people? All right, so we do know that stress is the number one cause of heart disease and a whole host of other biomechanical problems that are associated with the stress hormones in your brain. When they're released over time, it really degrades your brain. If you understand stress enough, that you can talk about how it affects your sleep patterns and what that can actually do to prevent the type of healing your brain needs to be very effective. All these things I considered as ways that can take you off your best self or your most healed or well self. So stress was a big deal, especially in my life, coming from some of the situations that I came from, which happened to be like growing up with a narcissistic parent and a codependent parent and a golden child sibling, and being stuck in the role as a scapegoat. I think that was really where a lot of the stress became overbearing, and I needed to somehow learn my lesson to turn negative lifestyle and mindset into a more positive one that actually elevates me to a place where I'm happy and content, right? And that's really the end result of all this, is to be content with the knowledge that you have and the strength that you can move from situation to a better situation if you just make the right choice, right? Through, say, some people talk about chaos theory, and that is life is so chaotic that, you know, some people think that you don't have free will, that you're just getting barraged and reacting to what life is doing and giving you. But I think that that's not really the correct way to look at it. I think that life is chaotic, but you can use the theory of chaos to do this. So you don't know what's happening, you get beat up, sometimes you don't have enough money. In this crazy world right now, everybody's getting beat up. So we say, in this chaos, you have to have a vision of how you want your life, right? If you don't have that vision, you don't know what type of life you want, then you'll settle for whatever kind of life that you're getting. All right, so what I chose to do is take chaos in life and make the next best right choice that will lead me eventually to a better place. And if I kept making the better choice over time, I would eventually lead myself to a better place. It's a simple philosophy that I used and train myself to kind of like participate in. All right, some of the things that I know that happen with stress are things like when you are constantly being told that, you know, you're bad and you're a scapegoat for everything, and you don't have any connection with family or whatever, it becomes a lot of stress. And this is where I'd like to talk about how people handle stress and how to move from this portion of life into something that actually will benefit you when you can live with purpose. All right, and so this is kind of all tied into my purpose as well and why I choose to do this. So I know as a scapegoat in my family, I didn't have a real good connection with my parents because I was constantly getting gaslighted on. And, you know, I had a ton of negative experiences. So one of the things I turned to in isolation as a scapegoat was drugs, which I'm a firm believer in drug use. I believe that people have a right to explore their own consciousness, and I think drug use is a valid tool for that. All right, but I also understand the negative. So there's neutral, negative, and positive. So neutral would probably be like having supportive parents and not having to go through situations where you're a black sheep for everything and blamed for everything. So then negative would be loss of control and connection. And so isolation, you tend to self-medicate. And sometimes it's bad enough to where you're the only person, and that's kind of like the deal of the scapegoat. They're banished from society to go die, and, you know, some of them don't. And so some of them get stronger for the situation, and I think that's what happened with me and why I choose to share this. So I just want to say the drug addiction that I know of was so hardcore that it was trying to quell this pain in my head and also get some relief from having no support and trying to do something with my life. All right. And so I don't believe that you should be on drugs, especially death drugs, or drinking even for that matter, if you're trying to get well and heal from one of the most hardest things to learn to heal from, which is being a scapegoat and having to estrange yourself from the factory of pollution and bad programming that is being aimed at you, okay? So this is where being an individual does take place. So you want to be an individual that accepts what people are telling you, or do you want to be the individual that has a chance to look inward, focus on finding ways that you can fix the program that is faulty with yourself, that are creating these faulty behaviors, into somebody who actually has a purpose in life and can continually choose to go into the next best right decision that you can choose for your life. All right? And this is all I'm trying to say, is it can happen, right? even though you have to sometimes be estranged from your family and have a time to heal by yourself in isolation. And I think that's why it's okay to be isolated for healing as well. If you're isolated for abuse, then you can isolate yourself for healing. And that's what I would recommend throughout this program, is to step outside of everything and to get connected with this program and see how it works for you, all right? Because this is really what it did for me. And that's all I'm doing. Reverse engineered, giving you all the keys to my knowledge for free, just because I want people to heal and find some joy in this life so that I can connect with more people. Or else I'm stuck alone, all healed and watching everybody. Like, I just had 2 friends die this week. And maybe if I had gotten this out a little bit sooner, it probably would have maybe helped them a little bit more. So that's another reason why I do this. I'm going to finish this. Period. So I think that one of the things that brought me out of such a depressed state and a suicidal state was knowledge. I think that people have these experiences and they're so minimal because, you know, when you're a scapegoat, you're dealing with people who say, if you have the idea that you want a better education or to get a bachelor's and you have a parent that's only got an associate's, they don't want you getting anything higher than associates because they think that it makes them look bad. So with these patterns, knowledge was what helped me recognize the ability to call these patterns out in their perspective. Say, like gaslighting, oh, you're lying to me, you're gaslighting me, you're trying to break my mind into believing something that is not true and trying to pass the problem as myself or whoever they're pointing the finger at, because there's probably tons of scapegoats that have the same pattern recognition as me, only they're not filled up with the knowledge to be able to speak about it formally, so that they can really discuss how it works. That pattern works with the way your brain works with people with empathy. So anyways, once I started getting knowledge, I could start understanding the pattern, and then I got pattern recognition built in there. And so then that's why, because I now know with knowledge that a piece of the brain called the amygdala that controls empathy doesn't work for them. If you were put them under MRI or a CAT scan or just some field, you could see places on their brain that don't light up because they don't have that. All right. And so that is the biggest reason I can poke around no matter what they look like in their sleeve or body, that you can figure out their mind by the patterns that they exist when it comes to people who don't play those games. Anyways, so my point is once you get those patterns, most of the stress that comes from life can come from people. So then now you know how to cut people out that aren't giving you the nourishment that you need. I want to see people flowing and flourishing, and with a growth mindset, you are constantly challenging yourself and growing into the person that you deserve to be. And then this is where I think the stress recycling does get a hold on people's personalities and overall mood and sense of well-being. Also, another thing that I'd recognize, not just only the pattern of stress dealing with people, but also I broke my back recently. I had spinal fusion surgery. I got a video on that as well, having a scar all the way down my back like this big. You have to be stoic about it. Like, all right, so this is what I am going through now. How do I handle life now that I am not going to be the same physically, right? So that was kind of like the first part was mental stresses. Now we have physical stresses that we have to worry about. And I am trying to keep this at a minimum, but I want to give you the example of how I broke my back, and not even 6 months, I'm back into working out and trying to better myself. And so how I tie this all in is the gym is such a good place to figure out how to grow into a better person. That is a choice from chaos that you can implement in your life every day to grow better, bigger, and stronger. And so all the little, maybe you're a scapegoat as well. So maybe all the little belittlement that you've been taught to believe about yourself kind of starts disappearing when you get in the gym, because you know that you're getting better, right? And so those same old projections don't fit anymore. And that's kind of how I like to see people's mind grow. Just keeping it short, I do think that exercise is the number one way that I recycle a lot of my stress. But why I call it flow health, this will be the third little piece. So mind, physical, and then the flow. So why I call it flow health is because when I exercise, I'm also getting better. But since I had experience being the scapegoat, I do have sometimes a negative feedback loop that goes on in my head. Like, oh, well, you know, I don't have anybody to help support me or anybody I could turn to for any kind of support. You know, but I know that with the recycling of stress in the gym, I can be strong enough and well balanced mentally to be able to support myself to not make bad decisions that are going to put me in holes that I have to dig myself out later. I've already done that. I'm starting to use preventive vision to see myself making the wrong decisions and those wrong behavior patterns. So I'm not digging myself out any holes. I'm completely avoiding them altogether. And not only that, but I'm avoiding the thinking that gets me in those holes, because I'm now thinking about building myself up to the person that I belong, which means, to me, the learning aspect and knowledge is probably the very most important thing about releasing stress, is being able to see a bigger picture. Oh, at first, you know, oh, my parents hammer me down. I must be this. And then you're like, oh, no, because no parent does that. It's these people with this brain disorder that are malignant psychopaths, covertly using malicious intent to put people down to the point where they want to kill themselves. Now, I've experienced that, so this is the pattern that I know exists and why I do this, because it's a terrible place to have nobody else to relate to when you feel this loneliness, disconnection, and this feeling to want to end it all. And I pray for my friends that just passed, and I hope they didn't feel this and didn't have anybody to talk to about this, because there are plenty of people who are experiencing this same thing right now. And so I'm here to get you reconnected with yourself, with other people, and then a system of improvement, right? Easy, full spectrum wellness, preventative medicine. We want you to be happy, healthy, and actually enjoying this life that you get. All right, this is just the simplest stuff for me, right? Because this is what I'm doing. All right, so I had mental, then I have physical, and then the flow content, which is, say, the easiest one for me to describe is just riding a bike, right? So during the day, I'm having these thoughts, oh, I'm a scapegoat, I'm the problem, I don't have any friends, it must be because I suck. And then you're like, I don't know if God really does that to people, right? I don't know if he just puts people out here to suck. I think they're kind of trained to feel that way. In my opinion, they're programmed to be something like docile, simple, a non-threat, because like you when you have that experience, oh, I'm going to be an associate's narcissist, but my son wants to get into his bachelor's. I don't want him to do that. So you're going to have that plenty of places all around, people thinking that you doing good for yourself to better yourself makes them look bad, right? So you got to be content just being alone. I think that's one part of stress recycling that I embrace. With that loneliness, I sit in the gym, I exercise all my rights, I gain a bunch of knowledge about pattern recognition through people that are psychopaths, sociopaths, and people that I don't want siphoning off my energy and time and reducing my ability to become the best person that I should be. All right, and so the flow state, this is kind of how I describe it as the stress recycling side. All right, so not gaining knowledge helps for your brain. Gaining strength helps for your body. If you're holding the weight of the world, you don't want the world the weight of the world to bring you down. You want to be strong enough to hold that and continue on to build your life that you deserve, okay? Even if nobody's helping you, you just do it. All right, I'm trying to help you get there because I hate seeing people lose at this game of life and then take their own lives. It's not necessary. So back to how I use flow states to kind of reduce the chatter in my brain. What I like to talk about is, so when I'm on a bike, I know that once I lock into that flow state, after a little bit, I'm synced up. And I'm no longer thinking about my past or my future or all the worries. I have a straight balance into who I am and what I'm working on right now. And you deserve to have fun in this life, all right? And this is just how I kind of steal fun from life. All right, y'all, I'm just going to finish it up with this, all right? So the third way that I recycle stress is a great example is using biking. All right, so when I'm in my flow zone, I'm not thinking about the chatter in my brain, about all my problems or the accidents I've created unnecessarily by other people's perspective. I'm focusing on living my life in fun without the past or the future even affecting me at all. And so that's one of my other greatest experiences in this life that I'm trying to kind of share with you as a life hack. All right, same thing with skydiving and why I use exercise to get into all these channels of sport, because they offer me a different type of flow state. And that's what I appreciate about life, the variety of it. So if you kind of get what I'm saying, there's a mental side to stress recycling, a physical side, and then I think the flow side is really the one that gets me excited about life. So please understand why I do this and why I use this methodology, and I hope that you can kind of see how it works for me so that you can steal it all and have it work for you. That's really what I want. All right, well, I appreciate your time again for listening to me talk about flow health, my primary way of dealing with my own life, and I hope that you can find ways to use this information so you don't have to suffer as greatly as my friends who just lost their lives this past week. So look, I'm sending love out to the universe and to people. I'm hoping this is giving people a channel to learn how to change properly and not have suffering take them out because it's too unbearable. All right, I'm just going to end there, and thank you again for watching the series of Flow Health videos. And I hope you've enjoyed the one on stress recycling, and I hope you use whatever works for you. Have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.